Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Hesse Vlog with yours truly, Mr. Stephen Hesse, and thank you so much for checking out our YouTube channel, in particular me ranting about several subjects that I may know stuff about and may know nothing about. But this vlog is not such thing in terms of I know a great deal about this, and I'm sure anyone that's watching this will know exactly, just like this environment right now, is what this feels like when you ever get onto the idea of dating, because dating is shit. Sit back while I tell you stuff inappropriately that you wouldn't want to know about me, which is exactly how dating goes most of the time. Oh yes, indeed. Fancy meeting you here. Thank you for pushing my buttons. So you get there in the restaurant area and you think to yourself, oh great, if that even ever gets that far, because one of the things that you first see whenever you get into a dating site is the profile. Now, we all have profiles, and let's face it, we are all Facebook pervs. What I mean by that is that we'll go onto Facebook and type in someone that we like, and then we'll Facebook stalk, which is known as the most viable way of being a stalker with it being legal. You know who I'm staring at. The way that we live in this world is that we do have profiles where we're able to kind of look at things. Isn't it so funny? And I've been talking about this to my friends recently about how hypocritical and how picky we become, and dating sites are great with that. Because did you know, for example, that there's certain dating sites that my girl mates have told me about where, for example, they'll tell them how horrible it is and the do's and don'ts of getting perverted guys to be part of it, to do stuff that you don't want. You consider this an open invitation for me and you to be on a date right here, right now. And yet, on the other side of the coin, when guys go on to websites of this nature, is they get a whole list of do's and don'ts to attach the girl, which kind of shows the girls, whether we want to admit this or not, have kind of a monopoly not only on dating, but also on getting laid. In 99% of the time. Obviously there are exceptions, but this is true. I never hear a guy at 2 o'clock in the morning being rang by a girl saying, would you want to have sex? And then the guy turning round or answering the phone and going, no, I'm okay, because every guy in that scenario is going, this may be the last time I ever have sex ever in my entire life. I'm gonna say yes. It's true. But yes, to go back to the profiling. So one of the things that happens in the profiles is you'll look and go, oh my god, and you'll read about this particular things. And one of the things that I find incredibly weird and silly is the fact that you look at certain girls on these sites and they'll say, oh, a friend of mine got me involved in this and I don't know what to write. I bet you any money that still would deter a certain type of guy from going, she's the person of my dreams, I'll message her anyway, because you consider this an open invitation for me and you to be on a date right here, right now. There's a majority of guys out there who have very little standards whatsoever, and let's face it, they're on a dating site, the same dating site that such people like me are attempting to use. So that will still get them enough as someone who will put a couple of paragraphs of some good details and will be judged. Yet, I'm being hypocritical in that sense because I do the same thing. And here's an example. So, for example, I went on it the other day, and I'm not a particularly... I'm a very busy person, which is one of the reasons why I never get the opportunity to meet any girls. Also, the fact is that, running a business, it is a full-time commitment, even if you have other jobs to do, and obviously you've got your own friendship circle. I haven't got enough time even to see my friends or anything else. So you only have a certain amount of time to read certain number of profiles. And the first profile I went on recently, I was like, oh my god, this girl is the woman of my dreams. To the point of even I, and even a stereotypical guy who doesn't do this, is going, well, I'm thinking she lives quite far away, about 50 minutes away. So if we could meet sort of halfway. And then when we have kids, we'd be like, well, the kids could be sort of close to where I am, but then also in the other town. I was literally planning out our entire 10-year future together, because that is how dating sites make you think. They make you think of 10 years time rather than now. And so I'm reading this and going, she likes Game of Thrones, she's a nerd, she likes going to gigs. And I'm thinking, great, and then the next thing you think about, which is one of the great things about this, is you start thinking, well, will she be okay with me? And so the next thing you look at is she okay with dreads? Don't know. Does she like bearded people? Well, she says she likes beards. Check. Will she mind me having a bunch of tattoos? Probably not. Does she care that I'm ginger? Oh well, better not next time. But you do kind of do that, don't you? So you end up doing the same thing, because I was reading this going, oh my god, she has the best, she has the best profile I've seen in a while, right? And then there's that moment, just like in that episode of How I Met Your Mother with the glass shattering, where someone says one sentence, even before it gets to like the meal date behind me, even 3 dates in. So you save yourself 3 dates if someone says something in a profile where you just stereotypically or hypocritically or very harshly go, why did they have to say that? Really? But you do, don't you? You kind of go, and in this case, this girl, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Orange is the New Black, Netflix fan, meal fan, as in likes going out for meals, likes going to the pictures, likes going to gigs, into some bands that I like. It loves art, which I admire. Anyone who can draw, because I can't draw shit. Well, if you're meaning the excrement, I can definitely draw that, but that's as far as it goes. I once drew a stick man and someone went, what is that? That's how bad my drawing is. I thought, wow, this is amazing. And then that sentence, is when I read and went, this is awesome. Just about to press the reply to profile or send an email, and she says, I'm a fanboy of McFly. McFly. It should have been Michael Jackson. Could have took that. Could have said busted. They're a little bit better. Why did she have to say that? Oh, it was going so well. But then, what's funny about when you say these stories as well, and I say this to my friends, is you also have a warped idea about how good you are at being in relationships. You're on a dating site, and you have the attitude of, oh, it's her loss. You're all in the same position. You're all unable to get people, and this leads me to what you ended up in date number one, because of dating profiles, is you get the dreaded pictures, and I know how hypocritical I am, because if anyone looks at me stereotypically and decides to judge me in that sense, because let's face it, dating is judging, whether we want to believe it or not, is they'll look at me and make determinations that are probably harsh, or at least I deem harsh. There's so many things someone could look at me and go, I don't like that, I don't like that. It could be being a geek, which is fine, I don't want to know them if that's the case. Could be that I've got dreads. Could be that I'm 6'1", but I have the weirdest body type ever. I mean, I've got like kind of pretty tiny arms. I'm massive. I'm really lanky. I mean, if I actually had this to frame, this would be what you currently would see right now. Guys, what's happening? This is me, Mr. Lanky, Andre the Giant here. How bizarre I am. Like, a body type, because this is one of the things that annoys me about diets, is that, they always get people who go, I need to be on a diet, and you look at them and go, you don't need to be on a diet, and they're like, how do you know that? And that's my choice. It's because they don't understand that, like, you're only going to have a certain body type, so I am going to always look like a freak. That's just, and I mean that in the nicest sense, because I like who I am, but you can't change your pelvic girdle, you can't change the size, how long your legs are, unless you want major surgery for something that's not necessary. So you have to use what works. So even though I have a really weird body type, I extenuate the things that I do think that I like about myself, and that's the goal. Hello, welcome. Sit down. Take off your pants. But yeah, so people could look at me and go, dreads, tattoos, massive geek, business-like, busy, has a lot going on, is ginger, and it looks weird. Whatever. But yes, so that could get me crossed off this generic list. But then you get past that, and then you end up at part 2, the date. So you end up at the date, and then, as I say, you've got these pictures, and the fact that we live in a society where everybody's taking pictures, and as I say, you can Facebook stalk anyone at any time, and it's legal. You know, it's like having your own camera in someone's life. And so you go around and you meet this person, and the first thing you do is you compare them to the pictures you saw on the profile. And if they aren't up to scratch, you suddenly have a different attitude. I remember once, and I swear this is true, is I went on a date with this girl, and I freely admit I saw it and went, I saw her profile and she sounded amazing, and then her pictures weren't that great. Got to the date and she was way better looking than her pictures entailed. But that could have been me. That could have been just the way I perceived things, but that is how I saw things. So I thought I'd won the jackpot, whereas she probably thought, wow, his professional photos that he used on his site were good. He looks terrible in real life. But that's kind of the problem with dating sites. We are prejudged before you've even got there. So you make an innocuous joke and it is done. You sit down, you're having a romantic meal. The girl opposite you orders a lobster and you got upset because it's the most expensive thing on the menu. And then you just wait for the moment where you kind of bond and you think, this is all awesome. And then you get a number of different things. You get a number of different responses. Take off your pants. So you might get a kiss goodnight, and you think, do I do that on the first date? Do you whatever you do? And there's so many rules, and yet, so the rules of dating sites tell you that you have to perceive a certain way, and yet everyone says, let's go on a date, let's see. But there are rules. Everybody knows that there's rules. There's social rules to dating that you have to follow. Like, for example, does the guy always pay? Now, I've had so many arguments with people that go, they'll at least like the girl to offer, or they don't, they just assume that happens. As it happens, I do that anyway, but I would do that, I just do that out of nicety. It's not the fact that I think that you should pay for a woman. Got the lobster again. I think that I don't understand why more girls don't think that's kind of a sexist thing of the women now, considering, you know, we're trying, you know, the equalities are much better than it was. So I think if I had a woman come to me and go, you're a guy, I'm going to pay for you, like that, I would be a little annoyed by that. So I try not to have that attitude. Yet though, it's a stereotypical thing of that's expected of you in certain environments. But yes, anyway. So not only have they picked the most expensive item on the menu, kind of assume that you're gonna pay that, but then you have the kind of walk back home, and you kind of think, what do I do? Do I ask them out or whatever? And you get varying responses from, yeah, I'd love to go out again, and going, this isn't gonna work. I remember I actually went on the first date I ever went on, was a girl actually said after I went out with her, she was like, I was like, oh, you know, would you like to see me again? And she turned around and said, I mean no offense, but I can do way better. And I've told everyone, and I swear to you that's true. And if I ever showed you, I showed people who were pictures of her afterwards, and I was like, she had no right in saying that, and I feel confident saying that. So screw you, bitch. I hold no resentment. But yeah, so anyway, so you get to this situation where the glass shatters. Even when you get to this dating thing where you go, oh yeah, great, so I had a really, really great time. And then you get to the restaurant. Maybe it could be something you ordered, like you really, really stupidly forget that you're on a date and order spaghetti. Also with a beard. Or you suddenly realize certain things about that person that you never would have established on the profile. Like, for example, the fussiest eater in the world. Like, you go to an Italian restaurant and they go, oh, well, so what are you going to order? And they're like, well, I don't like pasta. Okay, what about, do you like garlic bread? No. Do you like pizzas? No. Why the fuck did we go to an Italian restaurant then? Just order something! Well, I don't really doubt at all, really, but, you know, you kind of suggested it. Well, why didn't you suggest something? It's always put on the guy. It's always put on the guy to go, okay, we'll go to somewhere fun. You know, who asked who out? Even in scenarios where the girl has asked me out, they've turned around and said, "Oh well, what annoys me greatly." That's another thing about dating that never gets talked about, that no one's ever honest about and upfront of. And let's face it, if you're watching this, you know fine well that I am, and I'm kind of openly honest, openly freakishly honest about it, like my body type. That's what's happening, and is that it's always expected that the guy always does everything. And that's something that really, really frustrates me, regardless of who asked who out. I've been on situations where girls have asked me out, and then they almost pass it on to the guy as an expectation that the guy does everything, that the guy picks where they go, the guy pays for the meals. They essentially get looked after. Just order something! Now, I have the attitude of, if this is going to be an equal thing, which I fight for in terms of, I think it should be, it should be determined on the person who is interested in the other. It shouldn't be, even if the girl is interested, that the guy takes over. And this is my point. It goes back to what I said earlier. Girls are not are perfectly happy with the idea of that they have a monopoly on how dating works and how sex works, because majority of the time, obviously, you get guys who have no problem doing that, but when you're in an environment where they kind of pick and choose who they end up with, that old saying that you have, where with a lot of the time it is that the only time you can ever ask a girl out is the week between two relationships, because girls who people like me want to go out with, who are worth going out with, aren't single for very long, which is why, in a nutshell, dating is shit, because we all end up, majority of the time, guys who are desperate end up on sites like this, and the one girl who's just got unlucky in that sense gets bombarded by idiots who don't know what they're doing. Another thing that really, really bugs me as well, so you think about dates and you go, well, why use dating sites? Why not go to a fancy little restaurant such as the one behind me and spend an absolute fortune when you may or may not even talk to a woman or even get a conversation at a nightclub where you lose your voice. Hello, my name's such and such, and I can't hear you right now. And then you wake up the next day with no voice, with about £100 down. You might as well have just blown that on red at a casino.
What again? This is just ridiculous.
Screw you, bitch. Because that's how lucky you get. And let's face it, it goes back to what I said earlier. I'm aware of what I look like. So why would I go to a nightclub with people who are either wanting to get laid, not wanting to have a relationship, are not going to look at people like me? They're going to take a second look at me because I'm different looking. And I'm okay with that. So why go into an environment where I know that the people I want to know aren't going to be around? But yet, everyone does that on a Friday or Saturday night to test their luck and realise that their luck is not going to change, because they don't realise the environment they're in is not suited to what they're going for. But neither is dating sites in this sense, because dating is shit. As I said earlier, the thing is that they have a bunch of stuff saying to girls, this is how guys are going to treat you, and then and when a guy logs on it, this is what you shouldn't do. So we're all perceived in the dating world that guys are idiots and guys are perverted. I am perverted, but in a good way. By that is that, yeah, I have a dirty mind and various other things of that nature privately when I'm with someone, but I'm not gonna say something inappropriate, and I know the social etiquette. This is an open invitation for me and you to be on a date. Most people don't, but I find more and more in the environment now is I'm treated that way regardless of what I say. I can talk about flying unicorns and how I murder I could talk about flying unicorns and in the same sentence talk about how I've got a bunch of dead bodies that are decomposing in my bedroom right now, and they'll turn around and say, "Oh my God, you like flying unicorns? You're a freak." Now that's ultimately the issue. Now, before I get any hate mail, no, I am not saying that girls are 100% responsible. I am saying the dating scene is responsible. The dating scene is responsible because it is stupid. It is the fundamental overall generalization of what the problem with social networking is. you'll read a certain like it is literally like reading something out of context. So I could say I'm a big huge geek, and someone could take that as saying he's an absolute loner who spends his time a lot of the time in his bedroom and he doesn't speak to anyone. Actually, wait a minute, that's exactly what I'm like. Ooh. Life reveal. It's a bitch. It just means that I'm incredibly passionate and interested. Also, you know, if I tell the truth and say, you know, I'm a busy person and I run a business, I wouldn't be surprised if people read that and go, how's he going to get any time for me? Not realizing that if anyone knew me deep down, they'd know I would dedicate time to someone who I really care about, because anyone that knows me well, friends included, know that I would give anything to be in a worthwhile relationship. That's what I've always wanted. So, and how do you portray that on a dating site without coming across as phony or wanting something more? Because if you do want a long-term relationship and you don't want to get laid, you're suddenly not a guy. Whereas I know people debate that sometimes I look like a bearded lady, but no, seriously, I am a guy. I'm a nice guy. I'm a kind guy. I am deceptively honest. I'm not afraid to tell the truth, and these are all qualities that people should desire. But then the ones that should desire is to be fake. Now, if I wanted to just quickly say what a fake profile should be, I would say blonde haired, even though I'm not. It's more strawberry blonde. Dark bearded. No, it's not. It's ginger. Kind of a geek. I'm not. I'm a huge geek. Snake hipped. No, I'm not. I've got huge hips. Really in proportion body size. No, I'm not. I look like a giant womble. And plenty of things I could make up. Speaking of How I Met Your Mother, I was on a date with her the other week. Joking. And the truth of the matter is just I am just somebody who wants to meet somebody who likes the same things I do and get given a chance. Because I know there'll be people watching this who'll go, you got a chance. You got a chance. Because I've been on dates and they're like, you've got a chance. I'm like, it is a bit like having a bunch of skis and a person saying, I want you to climb that hill with skis on. You're already you're being set up to fail. And it's like, when you be given a chance, well, yeah, I've been given a chance to do something that is entirely impossible and improbable. And how good do I have to be in order to beat the preconceptions that are out there? Take off your pants. So, ultimately, what's the solution? So instead of spending a £100 fortune and end up with a hangover and ended up realizing that you've fell asleep with a bit of pizza hanging out of your mouth and you're actually curdling a pizza box, I know friends that do that. What do you do in that sense? Well, how do we make it better? Here's the solution, is how about we all tell the truth? Say what we're really like. Don't put stuff like, oh, my friend of mine got me into this, because boy, is that a turn on to go, my friend made me do this, or my mom made me do this. Wow. Whoop-de-doo. You really want to be here. It's like going to a gig and going, you know, I've been in situations like that where I've went to gigs and then I've had someone say, I didn't want to come here, but my wife did. You know, the tag-alongs. You don't want to know the tag-alongs. You want to know the person who tagged them along. So tell the truth. Don't be afraid of it. Be honest about who you are. Don't ridicule people who are doing that. And try to understand that there are good people out there, women and men, who really want to meet people and are having to do dating sites because they're being too busy, being unable to be in new environments, to find new people. And let's stop saying that's the way it is for things and let's try and change it. Because I speak for everyone when going, dating is shit. It sucks. It's crap. It's terrible. It's humiliating. It's boring, and it's impossible and incomparable sometimes. But I have been on some incredibly good dates as well. When we tell the truth. Every time I do this, got an itchy nose. One more thing I should mention about as well is I'm going to quickly talk about the best date I ever did, right? This is something I read online and got inspired by. So one of the things I decided to do, for example, and this is what I think, I thought I was going to get huge brownie points for. It did kind of work, but it kind of didn't. So he has my plan, right? And guys or girls, I encourage girls to do this. Feel free to take it off me. But so what I decided to do, this girl, I went on this girl for this was like the third or fourth date, and I wanted to do something extra good. Because I think, the third or fourth date, again, social convention,
Take off your pants.
is that you kind of want to do more than you did in the previous date. So what I decided to do was this idea that I heard about, that I kind of, modernized, was you say to the person you're going to meet at a neutral place. So I said the statue outside Central Station, which is the main station in Newcastle where I'm from. So that's what I did. And so she turned up. And then you have two envelopes, one on your left hand, one on your right hand, with A and B written on. And you write in them 2 areas to go to. So you plan 2 areas that they want to go to. So they're turning up not knowing where they're going is the point. And so you say to them hi, you do whatever you need to do, if you're kissing, if you're at that stage, or greeting, whatever. And you say to them, right, okay. So then they'll want to ask, where are we going? If you set this up correctly, they'll be all excited and be like, where are we going to go? And I'm like, right, well, here's envelope A, envelope B, pick one. And they'll be well impressed with that. And then they'll pick one, you go to that one. And then you repeat the process in the other area you're in. So if it's a meal or a gig or something, you go out, and if you want to do something else, so the number of times you want to do something with the amount of time you've got to spend with that person, you just add more. So at the end of the gig that we went to, or actually we went for a meal, and then the option was, well, there was 2 gigs. So I hold both up and says, there's 2 gigs to go to. He has 2. Pick one. So you do the same process. So it looks like you have spent time planning it. You gave them 4 options, and he has the secret. Both envelopes have the same thing in. So you want to be lazy, you can just do 2 places instead of 4. But don't tell anyone I said that. Keep it us, okay? But yeah, so that is a great example of making a date way better than it would be just. I see so many times in dating things, what would be your ideal date? And most of the time it's like turning up, or get the guy to do it, or let's have a drink or a meal, or let's do something nuts. And then usually I've seen that where someone will go, let's do something nuts, and that nuts thing is simply let's go to a restaurant they've never been to before, where they'll buy the lobster again. There's an example of how you can make dating interesting. So instead of just assuming it's shit to begin with, let's make more of an effort and get dating to be what it's worth. Because, yes, dating sucks, but it isn't the be all and end all. And we can make it better, guys. Just believe. Just believe in yourself and each other. Ted Mosby, I believe in you, man. I believe in you. You clearly know what you're talking about. But huge thank you to everyone who's checked out this version of me saying of my vlog talking about how dating is shit. Hopefully you've learned something, you've laughed, you've joked, you've cried and remembered. I remember dates as shit as that, so let's hope that it's done something good for you guys. Thank you so much for checking out the vlog and taking the time to watch it. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed doing these. So I'll try and do these at least once a week. So if you like what you see, please do give us a subscribe. There'll be a link underneath in the description. But yeah, so huge thank you to everyone who's supported Geek Apocalypse. We just hit over 400 followers on Twitch, which is excellent. And we're going to do some more original content on here. We're going to be going to conventions as well, doing some convention interviews here. And our video podcast, our nominated podcast, Geek Apocalypse, is on this channel as well, so do have a look at that. But thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next week, where I rant about something else, keep dating, keep being positive. It is shit though, isn't it? Thanks, guys.